All right, what is up, friends? Today I wanted to do something a little bit different and kind of throw in some like positivity. I know my I Said What I Saids are a lot of, can be sometimes like negative topics. So I wanted to throw in like a more positive video and talk about wrestlers that have changed my mind, meaning I didn't like them originally for whatever purpose, and now I've kind of become a fan of them. So I kind of wanted to dig into that a little bit. Honestly, the first one that comes to mind is Chad Gable slash like Alpha Academy. And I think, if I'm being transparent, I think a big part of it is Maxine, who I've become a really big fan of. I'm just super excited to kind of see where she goes. I think she has a lot of good things about her. I know she has a lot of like work to do in the ring, but I'm super excited to kind of watch her grow. And I really like what she brought into Alpha Academy when she stopped with the like models thing. I hated that gimmick. But I think the storylines that they've been doing, like with Chad and now like the Chad and Otis story, like it's definitely made me a much bigger Alpha Academy fan as a whole and just much more invested. Like I really wanted Chad to beat Gunther back when they were doing that story. And so they've really just kind of made them, I guess, less of like a random comedy shtick gimmick thing and kind of like actually put some work into them. And so I've become a lot more invested, and it's not just like thank you all the time now. Like I've actually really enjoyed a lot of the work that they're doing. Second is Solo Sikoa. Now hear me out. I am not necessarily like a huge like Solo fan, but I love the work that he is doing in this new bloodline. Do I love the new bloodline? Not so much. That's not what I'm saying. But I just really like his new character. I guess the way that he's kind of acting it out, like he's got the new look, he's got the new attitude. Like I can't even like put it's almost like Mafia Boss, like a little bit or something. I don't really know. But I've just been a really huge fan of it. I think that the actual Bloodline 2.0 could use a lot of work, but I think this new Solo is like funny. I don't know if that's like an abnormal way to describe him, but I have just loved it's a different take on what Roman used to be, I think, and more of like kind of like Solo's gone rogue a little bit, but he's still kind of playing that same role. It's just a little bit different enough that I'm actually kind of really enjoying it. Number 3 is the Young Bucks. Now listen, I have called them the Rat Boys for the longest time. I have said that since my beginning of watching AEW. My hatred from them really stemmed from like a lot of people were like, they are like one of the best tag teams, if not the best tag team ever, like in wrestling. And I was like, that's the Hardy Boys. Know your motherfucking place. Okay, we're not doing that. That was when I first started watching AEW. I still stand. Hardy Boys are my favorite tag team to ever exist, but there's a few others that I'll hear the argument. But I was just like not a huge fan of them off the bat. I guess I just didn't really get it. But to be fair, I also didn't really get Kenny Omega off the bat either. It took me a little time. But now I love the new Elite gimmick. I love it's hilarious. It's entertaining. It's like different every week. And I think one of my favorite things about what the Young Bucks have been doing, and Okada and Jack Perry are also kind of feeding into this as well, is they are taking and using everything that people are saying about them online and making it like a thing. Like they're using it to their advantage, and they're using it in the gimmick, and I absolutely love that because they get so much hate for literally everything. Like when Okada did the bitches line, oh my god, Twitter lost their minds. All the like fucking WWE fans were like, oh, he's become a comedy character, and it's like, no, he just said one funny line. But it's made me a much bigger fan of the Young Bucks watching them in this gimmick, and not just because they are teaming with Jack Perry. However, if you team with Jack Perry, I do like you. This is kind of a big one. Eddie Kingston. Now listen, I wouldn't say I'm fully on board, but my big issue with Eddie Kingston. So I came into AEW not long after Kingston had his rivalry with Punk, and Johnny says all the time that if I had started watching wrestling literally just like 3 months earlier than I did, I started in March of 2022 when Jeff Hardy debuted, and if I had started watching just a few months earlier, he's like, you would be the biggest Eddie Kingston fan because of his feud with Punk and how like good it was, and I hate Punk, so that would have fit. And he's probably right. But I have just, when I came in to AEW, there were a couple things that I didn't like about Eddie Kingston off the bat. And I'm not sure that I'm fully removed from these complaints either, but first it was he did an interview, and I'm trying to remember where it was, but he did an interview where he was basically like, I hate everybody that I work with. And he was like shitting on, it was like Sammy Guevara, MJF, I think Hangman might have been in that complaint, but he just was like shitting on all these people in this interview. And it was like, he was a baby face, so it wasn't like he was like a heel like character. And I was just like, dude just like shit talks everybody. But like his fans and him are like, they're really big on like mental health awareness, and like it just didn't fit to me. I was like, how are you gonna be like, oh, like be careful of how you talk to people and like be respectful and like mental health matters, but then you shit on people really hard. And like, so I kind of just came into that and I was like, that doesn't make sense. Like it came off hypocritical to me when I first started watching. I was like, I don't understand. So I didn't like that. And then he had the fight with Sammy Guevara, and I was like, I am Team Sammy, of course. So like lots of things just kind of like right off the bat in AEW for Eddie with me was just, we were not vibing. We were not meshing. But as time goes on, I've seen a lot less of that from him, where he's just like actually shitting on people. Like he makes jokes a lot, but I haven't seen him go to that extent in a very long time. But also, I think it's just like, another reason that everybody's like, you should love Eddie Kingston is because, if you don't know, I'm from Connecticut. So I'm a big like New York girly. And I love that kind of attitude. Like I love the like, I will fuck your shit up kind of attitude, kind of vibe, right? And so Eddie Kingston kind of embodies a lot of like the type of person I would typically like. For example, when I started watching soccer with Johnny, my favorite player that I chose was Darwin Nunez, who is literally like a very aggressive, like I will fuck up your life type of person, type of player. And so Johnny was like, this it doesn't make sense to me, like it doesn't compute, like you should love Eddie Kingston. And so as time goes on, I've definitely started to like kind of come around to Eddie Kingston. TBD on how much of a fan I become, but as of right now, he has definitely changed my mind a little bit. This might be a crazy one because I don't even know if anyone's gonna remember this, but I used to hate with every fiber of my being Sami Zayn. I didn't even look into the camera when I said it. But back when he was doing like the gimmicks and like the conspiracy theory shit, I hated that so much. That was my bathroom break. Like I absolutely despised that gimmick with every fiber of my being. It was just so boring. It just wasn't entertaining to me, and I thought it was kind of corny, and like I hated it so much. And when they brought him into the Bloodline story, I liked the Bloodline story at first, and then it kind of died a little for me. Like it kind of got old. Bringing Sammy into it, and I think a lot of people feel this way, but bringing Sammy into it definitely kind of revived it. Definitely made it more entertaining, more fun to watch, and he brought like a comedic side to it, obviously, with like the feeling oozy and like making Jay and Jimmy and Roman break character and like all that. It was great. So that like definitely kind of was, I was like, okay, I like this Sami Zayn. Like I'm getting more invested into him. And since then, he has become one of my favorite people to watch every single week. I've loved everything that he has done since then. I loved watching him with Kevin Owens. I loved watching him break free of the Bloodline story, and like now he's friends with Jey Uso on Raw, and like I've just loved everything that he's done since then. So definitely have become a big Sami Zayn fan now, but I hated that conspiracy theory gimmick so much. Swerve Strickland is the next one. Now, I wouldn't say I'm the biggest Swerve fan now, but I used to literally just be like, I hate the fucking like the dance and shit, and I still don't like Prince Nana. Him and I still have beef, okay? Because I went to an AEW show and we got ramp seats, and he said something or like did something. He was like yelling at a fan that was like a couple rows down from me, and I was just kind of like, oh my god, like you're yelling at this guy. And when I was like, I looked like this, and he like looked over at me, and he was like, you want to fight? And then walked away, and I was like, the fuck did I do? So yes, I want to fight. But anyway, so me and him have beef, but I just was never a big fan of Swerve previous to like his title run, basically. Or like I should say actually his feud with Hangman is what made me more invested, because I think it really showcased like how good he is as like a heel and an actor, and like his character work, and like when he would do the like dark, you know, makeup and stuff around his eyes, and how that like slowly progressed. Just like I think it's a lot of the details that he really focuses on, that makes his character work so good. But I have loved his title reign so far. I know it's new. It's only like, I think he won in a dynasty. So it's like April. It was like end of April. So it's been about 2 months in. But I've really loved his title reign so far. And I know that he takes being the first black AEW world champion very seriously, which I think is awesome. And I think he definitely deserves like this title reign. Super excited to see where this goes. But I will say he definitely has one of the best kicks that I have ever seen. It's a great kick. Great move. And he's just been really entertaining as a wrestler. So I don't know if maybe I just didn't see it before, but I just like, maybe I couldn't get over Johnny doing the dance all the time. That might have been part of the problem. But definitely within the last like 4 to 5 months, become a bigger Swerve fan. Okay, so this one's kind of Erica's fault. But the Guns, as in like Austin and Colton, I've definitely come around to them a little bit, and not just because they're working with Jay White and the Bang Bang Gang, who I absolutely love because they're hilarious. But I think once they kind of moved away from like Billy and the Acclaimed, I guess the first feud with the Acclaimed, I just feel like once they got to kind of let their like acting skills out and be like more funny and more entertaining, I think they both are really, really good entertainers. Like, they're really funny. They have just like, they don't really break character. Like, they just have a knack for that. Not surprising since they're Billy's son and Billy's a king. But I didn't like them. I only liked them because I had to like them because I'm friends with Erica for the longest time. And I will never forget, I think it was my first AEW show I'd ever been to. And so me and Erica both came to Columbus, my first AEW show, and the Guns had a match on Dynamite, and like no one gave a fuck. Like, no one was even standing, no one was cheering, no one was even really booing. And we actually went back. She made us like stand up and cheer for them, and it was one of the most embarrassing things I've ever done in my entire life, because everybody looked at us like, why? Like, we had 5 fucking heads. And we went back later and listened to the Dynamite, you can literally hear us, because that's how quiet it was, because no one else gave a fuck. I don't even remember who they wrestled. It was horrifying. But anyway, so I liked them because I had to like them, but now I actually find them to be really entertaining, and just like, they have really good character work. They're really funny, and I think that's the main thing for me. They're selling. Austin is like Shawn Michaels on crack. It's literally fucking insane. But they're really fun to watch, so I like them a lot more now. And finally, Samoa Joe is my last one, and Johnny's gonna be really happy to hear that I put him on this list. So I had nothing against Samoa Joe. Like, I used to watch TNA for years, and I've seen a lot of his work. It just like he never clicked for me. Like, he just never hit for me as like somebody that I was like invested in. And honestly, it's been only like the last couple of months where he's kind of let a little more personality out a little bit. I think if that's like, he's just been a lot more entertaining. Like, he's been funny. And I think for me, I do not necessarily connect with a wrestler just because they're a good wrestler. Like, that's just never been me. I need like a personality. I need you to be funny or like entertaining. I need to like actually connect with like a person. Like, you know what I mean? So I need something a little bit more than that. And I think Samoa Joe's finally kind of bringing that out. Like, he did that with his last match with Punk at All In, I think was really good. And ever since then, I think he's been funnier. I don't know if maybe I just didn't see it before, but I think he's been a lot funnier. And like, I love the trio with him, Hook, and Shibata. It's been so good to watch. And I think like him being a really good wrestler is great, but I just need a little bit more. And I think that personality is starting to like finally come out a lot more often. So I've been actually really enjoying him lately. So I think we are on track to potentially be a bigger Samoa Joe fan. But those are my top 8. Thank you for watching. Maybe I'll do some more types of videos like this. Put people down in the comments, people that have changed your mind, people you want my opinion on, anything like that. And thank you so much for watching.